Good morning. I'm Jim Sugarman. I'm one of the co-founders of ForgeN Now. I want to welcome our community that is participating, and especially those that will be watching and listening very soon. I'd like to welcome today's webinar guest, who is Kim Eickoff, Action Coach, and she's from the Denver area. Today she will be speaking on 6 steps to an amazing intergenerational teamed business. So Kim, thank you very much for your time. Thank you for your participation at our upcoming ForgeN Now Summit, and we look forward to some pearls of wisdom that our community members can use that will be measurable, actionable, and meaningful. So thank you very much, Kim.
Thank you, Jim. Thanks for having me. I'm excited to be here. All right, so I'm going to talk a little bit today about building a successful business, the 6 steps. Let me tell you a little bit about me really quick, just so you know why I do this. My why is I love inspiring people to be really brave and step into their full potential. And I've been doing this for about 15 years now, for about 10 years on my own in my own business, and then the last 3 with ActionCoach. And have just found the systems and the things we teach with ActionCoach amazing. I like to build inspired businesses, I call it, where everybody who is there, including the owner and the employees, get to bring their best self forward. There's a lot of appreciation and respect, and so we're creating hopefully happier environments so that when people go home, they can be happy and communities can be better. I think it's kind of my own small way of helping improve the world at large. And that's what I love to do. And I'm going to tell you a little bit about ActionCoach, just so you know about this. So we were created by a guy named Brad Sugars 25 years ago, so our 25th anniversary. We're in about, that says 61 countries. We're actually in 82 countries now. It has grown quite a bit in the last couple of years. And I think we have around 1,000 coaches around the world. We're in all these different countries, as you can see at the bottom. But our vision as a group is world abundance through business re-education. And our systems just work no matter the size of the company, no matter what type of business it is or where in the world it is. We all use the same systems, and they've just been proven and tested, and they work. So it's one of the reasons that I love being a part of this group and being a part of using this system, because I really want to help business owners make money and create a business that works for them. All right, so let's talk a little bit about a definition of a successful business. So our definition is a commercial, profitable enterprise that works without you. My goal as a coach is to help my business owners get to a place where they don't have to actually be there every second of every day. They have a team, they have systems, they have all the things in place that allow them to make money and then go enjoy their lives. Because that's my idea of a business, is it has to support the life I want to live, not the other way around. A lot of people I start working with feel like they're being run by their business and they're not actually running the business. So this is the goal. This is also the goal because once you get it to this place, you can hire somebody to run it, you can still make money from it, you can actually sell it, and you can make money from it. If we're not doing this, we don't really have an asset, we really just have a job that we've created for ourselves. So that's why this is such a goal when we're working with our clients. Now I'm going to talk a little bit about something called the point of power. In coaching in general, mindset's really important, and it's really the only way that you can create a successful business. I like to start with this just so we're all sort of on the same page. So this is some mindset stuff. The point of power is where we are, and we either want to be, well, we want to be above it, not below it. So if we're below it, we're making excuses, we're blaming other people, or we're even in denial, and that's kind of even a strong word. Sometimes we're not even in denial as much as we're just unconscious about what's happening. When we're down here, we have really no power. We're completely powerless because you can't change all these external things, right? So we're blaming or making excuses about the environment or our employees or the economy is not good, something like that. All that stuff are things that we can't control, and so we have no power. So my job as a coach is to help my clients stay on top of the point of power, which is taking ownership of everything, holding yourself accountable, and your employees accountable, and holding yourself responsible for everything. This is where there is power because it's all about you. So that's kind of the good and the bad, right? You're the one responsible for all the good stuff that happens, but you're also responsible for the stuff that doesn't go well. And because you're responsible, you can actually take control and shift things when you need to, once you know what you need to do and you actually make a decision to do it. This is also important when we have a team. We want them to hold themselves responsible, accountable, and have ownership for things. As our businesses grow, if our employees don't do that, then we're constantly, usually going through lots of employees. So when we find those people, to get those people on board that are aligned with our vision, and we really empower them to do these things, it can make all the difference in the company. So that's a little mindset, just to kind of get in that place and to think about, you know, when you drop below the point of power, how do you pull yourself up? All right, so the 6 steps. I'm going to briefly mention each step and then go into each one a little bit in detail. The bottom level is what we call mastery, and this is where we eliminate chaos. So if you think about building a house, you build the foundation first, right? You can't build the roof before you lay the cement, or build the foundation out and lay the cement down. Same thing in a business. If you don't have the mastery level down, your business is not going to grow very tall or very strong or very successful because there's nothing holding it there. So that creates stability. And then our next level is niche, which is all about the marketing, which we'll get into, but this is where you create predictable cash flow. Leverage is the 3rd step, which are all about your systems. And this creates more time for you. So you want to leverage, you know, as much as you can to create more time and efficiency. And then team is the 4th step, and that's all about the people you put in place to run all those systems and training them well and having a growth structure. Cannot grow without a team. And then synergy, which is where all these things are working really well together. We're just making little tweaks here and there. And then the final step are the results. And that's where you have choices. You can sell it, like I said earlier, you can keep it going and have other people run it, but that's how you kind of get to a place where you can make a lot of money, which is most of the time the goal for a lot of us. All right, so let's go through each step. So mastery, there's 4 parts: destination, money, time, and delivery. Destination mastery is all about your vision and mission. If you don't know where you're going, you're never going to get there. So we have to know at least what is it I'm trying to create. This is also becomes really important when we have a team, because we want people to be involved and excited about it. And I would say in this intergenerational world right now, this is really, really key, because a lot of, depending on kind of where you are, you know, as far as your age and what generation you're in, this is what attracts other people to working with you. So if they are excited about what you're creating and they want to be a part of that, then they're going to get on board really quickly. But if you're not clear about it, nobody else is going to be clear. So we have to have a really strong destination, be really clear about where we want to go. You don't have to know how you're going to get there yet. That's my job to help you figure that out. But you have to at least know what you want to create. The next one is our money mastery. So this is obviously very important for lots of reasons. So, you know, do you know what your break even is every single month, every single week? What you need to bring in to pay all your bills and to have a profit left over. And when I say pay your bills, I'm including your salary in that. So as owners of companies, small, especially startups, they don't always pay themselves right away. And sometimes it's valid because there's not enough money, but you have to soon be creating a plan on how am I going to get paid, because it's no fun to work for free. So when I help my clients develop their break even for the month, is looking at all their fixed income, their fixed expenses, plus a salary they're going to pay themselves, even if they can't right now, and putting in like a 10%, 20% profit margin, or a $2,000 profit margin or profit amount for that month. That gives us a really good goal to strive for. So say it's $10,000. We know if we hit $10,000, we're covering everything. You're making some money personally, and you're having some money left over. So those are really important. The reporting side is all about your P&Ls, profit and loss statement, balance sheets, cash flow. Do you know what all those mean, how they fit together, and are you looking at them on a regular basis? Because that's really important. Really important. The thing to remember, to me anyway, with the reporting side of it, that's more of a historical look. Cash flow can be future, but definitely balance sheets and profit and loss are more historical. So you can't do a lot. At the end of the month, if you're looking at, wow, I had, a negative 10% loss, then all of a sudden it's like, well, you can't do anything about it now. This is why our break even is so important. And we have KPIs tied to that so that you know if you're on track to actually hit your goals for the month. And you're not looking backwards saying, oh, I have no money, because we don't like that. So those pieces are key in understanding those pieces. This goes into as well, like, what do you set your pricing at? What's your profit margin? What's your gross profit margin? All those things are really important to know so that you know when you're making decisions on things, which product to offer more of or which services to sell more of, that you're actually increasing your profit margin and not just your sales. Those things are really important. All right, then we have time mastery is a third piece. And this is our time target that we work from a lot. Most of us end up somewhere out here in the delusion and distraction zones. So delusions are things like that are not urgent and they're not important. So things like Facebook, right? Or maybe if you have an office, people just stopping by to say hi. Now, it's not bad to communicate and get to know people, but if it's a constant stream of that, it can kind of mess things up. Delusion means they're urgent, but they're not important. I think of things like texting. A text might come through and makes that noise, whatever your phone does, and it feels really urgent, and we have to respond to it. Most of the time, they're not all that important. They can totally be taken care of later. A lot of email is the same way, where you might hear that noise from me, that whoosh comes in on my email, and it feels really urgent. And again, it's not usually that important. I can usually deal with it in a few hours. So those things create a delusion to where it feels like we have to take care of it, and it pulls our attention away from what we really need to be focusing on, which are these inner two circles, demand and zone. So the demand area are things that are urgent and they are important. So, client meetings, dealing with things that maybe a fire pops up here and there, trying to deal with those things on a regular basis that you can take care of. Now, you don't want too many fires, obviously, but those are things, there are things that happen that you have to deal with. The zone area in the middle there is the not urgent, but very important. So I tell my clients that's like our coaching sessions. They're not urgent necessarily, but they're really important, because if we're not having those, you're not staying on track and you're not accomplishing your goals. There are other things like setting down and creating your strategic plan, or setting down and creating your marketing plan. Whatever those things are, you have to plan them out and work on them. But it's not necessarily going to bring in money that day or the next day. It's a longer term thing. But those are really important. So we try to say it's good to be in the zone about 20% of the time, the demand area about 80% of the time. If you just could do those two areas, that'd be great. That's not probably possible, but putting most of your effort in those two zones is going to get you where you want to go through business a lot faster than if you're spreading through everything. And I can't remember the stats exactly, but they say like if you are in the middle of doing something, especially something creative, and you get interrupted, it takes like 10 minutes to get back into that original item you were working on, because your brain gets distracted by an email or whatever. So one of the things that we work with our clients is figuring out we call it a default calendar. So what are the times every single day that you're going to set aside to do the things that you need to do? Brian Tracy talks about eating the frog first thing in the morning. So the thing you hate to do, can you get that done first thing so it's off your plate? So there's different strategies. I've had clients where they turn their emails off. So maybe first thing in the morning, they'll check it. They'll respond to the things that they have to respond to. The other things they flag, they turn the email off for a few hours, do their other work, come back and turn it back on. I've had other clients that have talked about doing away with email altogether, and just, if you have something you need to talk about, you pick up the phone and you call somebody. This is sort of another area that I see a big challenge with the generation mix, where people in my generation and older are more comfortable on the phone than the younger generation. So I have a lot of clients with younger generation employees, and they will get into emailing back and forth or texting back and forth with customers even, and within themselves. A lot of miscommunication can happen. It's so much easier if you just pick up the phone and just do something quickly than trying to type it all out, but it's just a very different mindset. And so teaching people, I think the best way to communicate helps with all of this, but it also saves a lot of time and it saves a lot of misunderstandings. I'm kind of on a kick right now about not typing everything because it just doesn't work, but that's aside. So this is a time target, and so doing the default calendar is really important, setting your priorities. I also have something called a skill fund matrix where I have my clients go through and list out all the things that they do every single week and put them in a thing of like, how fun are they and how much skill do they take? And the things that are low fun, low skill, how do we get those off your plate as fast as possible to somebody else to delegate so that you can focus on the things that are high fun, high skill, because that's where you really need to be focused. All right, and then the fourth piece is delivery mastering. This is all about customer service, and it's about providing consistency. So if I am providing a service or a product to customers, and one time they order from me, it's great. The next time they order from me, it's not so good. The next time they order from me is mediocre. At some point, they're going to stop ordering from me, and usually it doesn't take very long. Once you have a bad experience after a good experience, it's like, I don't know, I don't trust this place. So it has to be consistent, and we have to be aware of the quality that we're delivering. Having systems in place and a team in place that help you do that regularly is really, really important. On the customer service side of things, staying in touch with our customers is really important. They say that we lose customers like 68% of the time because of apathy or perceived apathy on our part. So if you're not touching customers that haven't ordered from you in a while on a regular basis, they're going to go somewhere else, not because they don't like you, just because they don't really think you care and they've kind of forgotten. So we have to figure out a good system for that. So keeping us in the forefront for our customers is really important. So that's the fourth piece that we work on the mastery level. So all four of those things, time, delivery, financial or money, and destination mastery are the four key pieces to building your foundation. And then we move into niche. So most of the time in small business, hit it too fast. Most of the time in small business, what I hear a lot from my clients is what sets them apart is their price. And that's not right, because as a small business, we cannot compete on price. And I have learned that no one ever doesn't buy based on price. It's on the value. So as whatever your company is, a web developer, as a videographer, as a cake company, whatever it is, how are you different from everybody else, or what makes you different from everybody else who's doing the same thing that you're doing? What sets you apart? And why would I buy from you versus another web company? That has to be really clear to me as a customer, and I have to understand that value in order to not only go with you, but then pay the price that you're wanting me to pay. If I perceive that your value is worth that price, I'll pay it all day long. If I don't perceive that, then the price feels too high, but it's more the value's not there. So with my clients, we work a lot on pricing. And what I find too is that this becomes a money mindset idea where they maybe just don't believe in what they do enough or in who they are and in their value to charge the price that they need to charge. So we do some analysis on the financial side to make sure the numbers work, but there's also like an inherent value to what we do that is not just the product or service we offer. So for example, in coaching, yes, we may spend 4 times a month together, an hour on average every single week, talking about your business, helping you grow, keeping you accountable. That's all what I do as a coach. However, the thing that I've learned that I actually provide the most for people are kind of 2 things. One is a validation for where they are, because it's really hard being an entrepreneur and a small business owner. So the validation around that, like, this is just hard, and how do we move through the world doing this? And the second piece is when they don't believe in themselves, I can believe in them. So I can hold a space for them to be like, I know it sucks right now, things are hard, because things are hard sometimes, and I know you can do this, and I know where you're going, I know how good you are at what you do, I know how much you care about this. So I kind of keep that, I guess, mindset belief in them until they can get it back. And usually it's not too long. Usually by the end of the session, they start to have it back. I've heard a lot from clients where they come in pretty down because things aren't going so well, but when they leave, they feel a lot better because they're just, kind of pumped up. So it's all part of that, understanding what makes me special for what I'm doing, and then how do I infuse that into my company, into my team. So unique selling proposition, what I was talking about earlier, what makes you different from everybody else is really important to know. And then a guarantee, we're big on guarantees. So in my business, what I offer as my guarantee is, if you do one-to-one coaching and we coach every single week together, you pay me obviously what my fee is, but I guarantee that I'm going to find my fee within the first 17 weeks of working with you. And if I don't, then I'll coach you for free until I do. Now, the caveat, of course, is that you have to be doing all the work that we're coming up with, but I know that this stuff works, and if you follow it and you do it, you're going to have the results. And so I have no problem giving that guarantee. And hopefully it mitigates some concerns from people where they're, like, oh, I don't know if I should go with this coaching thing or not, but they try it. And you could have a guarantee as well in your business. I've had lots of clients come up with guarantees that really help them mitigate whatever the concern is for most of the companies. So my cake company, one of their guarantees, or their guarantee is, well, if your cake's not perfect, we'll fix it till it is, basically. So if somebody shows up to pick their cake up and it's not exactly what they want, they will redo it right there and make it work. And they do pretty much every single time. And sometimes obviously they can't and they have to do a refund or whatever, but most of the time they fix it. So if I know I'm ordering and these are really complicated cakes, if I'm ordering a cool 3D cake and I get there and it's not the right color, they're gonna figure out how to fix that. So think about your business, think about what it is why somebody won't go with you, and then what could you offer as a guarantee to help them kind of get over that hurdle. Test and measure, we're big on testing and measuring. We have something called the 5 ways to massive profits that we look at 5 different things: leads, conversion rate, number of transactions, average dollar sale, and profit margin, those 5 things. And we tweak them as much as we can individually, which ends up growing your profit margin substantially. And so we test and measure everything along the way to make sure we're doing that. So I want to know from my clients, how many leads did you get this week, this month, whatever the time frame is we're tracking? What's our conversion rate? What's our average dollar sale? How many times are they buying? And then what's our actual profit margin? And the more data we can gather on that, the more we can see, like, wow, if we package these couple of things together, our average dollar sale is going to go up. That's going to increase our profit margin by this much. So there's lots of different ways to increase your profit margin using those different 5 ways, and those are important, but the testing and the measuring part is the challenging part because it takes a lot of work to figure that out. But I just know the clients of mine that do this meticulously see a lot of growth and see a lot of change. And this is what I was talking about. So we have customers, revenue, and profit, and those are all just results. We focus on that a lot in business. We're like, how many customers do we have? How much is our revenue? What's our profit? And that's all great, but those are results of doing these other 5 things that I talked about. And if you're interested in learning more about that, we can sit down and talk about your numbers. It's fun to take your numbers and put them into our formula, and you can see how much they change. It's really fascinating, and see how much growth you could have if you just start tweaking a couple of these pieces. I don't have time today to go through the whole formula, but let me know, and I'm happy to have a conversation. This is a quick kind of rundown of how it works. And in this example too is like if we're increasing these by 10%, everything in blue by 10%. The cool thing is that it affects our revenue a lot and our profit margin even more. So just by tweaking, increasing your number of leads in a year from 4,000 to 4,400, which is just 400 more leads, and then everything else 10%, we increase our revenue by 46%, but our profits by 61%. So it's a pretty cool formula, and I use it a lot with my clients, and it's what we're kind of tracking all the time to make sure we're increasing profits. Most of us just say, I'll get more sales. Well, that's all well and good, but if we're not paying attention to actually how much we're taking home, it doesn't really matter. As we grow and we have to hire more people, our profits can shrink. And so we have to keep an eye on that so that we're still making money. I've had many clients I start working with who have grown to 4 or 5 people on their team, but they're making a lot less money, and they're more exhausted because they are not kind of really managing the team right, and they're not putting systems in place to manage the team correctly. So they're really tired, they have less time, and they're making less money, and they're all just like, I'm just going to go back to being small and do it all myself because it's easier and I make more money. And that's an option. But another option is to actually make things work better with your team and your systems, and then actually make more money. And that, again, is where you can step out and go do other things. You're not stuck there doing everything. So pros and cons, I'm sure, to both sides. But I think it's better to do this in the long run. It's hard, but it's fun at the same time once you get it down. All right, so leverage. This is the third step. This is all about creating efficiency. These are all the systems that we have to put in place. A business cannot function without systems or cannot grow without systems. When I was a business manager for a school many moons ago, when I started there, we had probably 70 students. I think we were making about 150,000 in revenue. And we had no systems in place. Everything was just kind of, every time something happened, we had to recreate it. And when I started putting systems in place to get everything from the marketing, to the sales, to the production, to the financials, to the customer service piece, to managing teachers even. I had all these systems in place that not only each system worked, but they also talked to each other. And by the time I left, about 4 years later, we were at 750,000 in revenue. I think we've grown to over 300 students, 4 programs versus just the 1 when I started. And all we had to hire, in addition to me, was a woman who was part-time answering the phone, because our phone was ringing off the hook, which was a good thing. But we didn't have to hire, but we had to put a database in place. But once we had that in place, it allowed us to grow a lot without a lot more costs. So systems are super important. And it's good to look at your business and see what you have in place and what you don't. So this is our acronym for systems: saving yourself time, energy, and money. Obviously, the system is not doing that. It's not really worth it. Having them talk to each other is a piece that's harder on the small business side because it can become expensive. But what's cool about this day and age in technology is that more and more of these things are coming available and they can talk to each other, which is pretty cool. So that's really short on systems, and then team, this is the other part. You have to have a team to grow. And I know this is a lot of what we talk about in the intergenerational world, where you have, baby boomers and Gen Xers and millennials, and I think the new one's iGen. I don't know when they'll be in the workforce, but you have all these groups, and how do we all get along and how do we communicate? Because we're all pretty different. So I help my clients build a team, because I know if the owner is taking care of the team will take care of the customers, and the customers will take care of the business, and the business then takes care of the owner. So really what I want my business owner focusing on is building that team. It's really important. When the team's happy and they're doing what they love, the customers are happy, the customers spend money, which the business becomes happy, which the owner becomes happy. A lot of times when I start with my clients, the owner is running between the team, the customers, the business, the team, the customer, and they're just feeling crazy. They feel like they're on a treadmill a lot of times. They can't get off of it. They're exhausted. And so helping them refocus on that is key to helping them grow. And so we have 6 keys to a winning team. Strong leadership. One of the things I like to say is, if your employees are strong, you have strong leadership. If they're not, guess what? You're not so good at leading. So we need to work on your leadership. A lot of clients I work with start complaining about their employees, and my first thing is like, all right, so what do we need to do to help you become a better leader, to not only help those people you already have, but also to attract the right people? Common goal, everybody needs to be on board. They need to know what this business is about. What are we trying to do? The third step, or the third key, is rules of the game. This is a big thing that a lot of business owners aren't clear about the rules. So you can be late or you can't be late. This is what happens when you are late. Anything from cleaning up the place to how you talk to customers. I mean, all those things need to be defined and be very well laid out so that people are all on the same page. They don't just get it. And a lot of my clients always think Why don't they just get this? Well, they don't. You have to train them and you have to teach them to do it the way you want it done. Okay. Action plan. This is big too, especially if you have meetings. I've been in many team meetings where, we all come together, we have this great discussion around something, and then everybody leaves and disperses. And I'm like, okay, so who's doing what and by when? And the owner looks at me and like, oh yeah, we didn't assign anybody anything. And it's like, nope, so nothing's gonna happen. We had this great discussion, but nothing's gonna change. So how, at the end of the meeting, are you being clear about who's gonna do what, when that's due, and then what's gonna happen if it doesn't then? And then at the next meeting, checking in, making sure all that stuff does happen. And holding people accountable, that's a big, big piece, and that comes back to rules of the game. So if they aren't doing what they say they're gonna do, what are the consequences? What happens? We cannot keep employees that don't do what you need them to do. It just doesn't work. Support risk taking, and this is for you and for the employees. So you as the leader has to be comfortable taking some risk, but you also have to empower your team to take risk. They have to know what the parameters are for that. So if I step outside the parameters, I know I'm going to probably get in trouble. But if I can make decisions within these parameters, and still if the decision isn't right, something doesn't go well, I'm not going to lose my job. We can have a talk about it. We can figure out what happened, what didn't go well, how do we tweak it and fix it. And then support risk taking, and then 100% involvement inclusion. So we need to include our employees on decisions, not necessarily to the point of I'm going to do what you say, but being transparent. Like, this is where we are, this is what we're working on. What do y'all think? Giving feedback. But they also need to be 100% involved, and that's on them. I've been in other team meetings where you ask a question and there's just silence. Nobody has any ideas, or one person, the same person, always has ideas. People need to be involved, but that usually comes from feeling like what they're saying is being heard, and they really want to be a part of that. So it's important because that's where you get buy-in from your employees. They feel like they're a part of a team, they're a part of something bigger than themselves, which I believe is why we all want to work for different people in different businesses. It's not just about the money. So the right people on the bus, in the right seats. I like to actually use the analogy of right people in the boat, in the right seats, all rowing in the same direction, because that can be a big problem too, where, I don't know, people are trying to do different things and they're going off in different directions. So if they're not all aligned, that's part of it. When I do team coaching, we do a team alignment where this is what the owner's creating, this is what we're about. Everybody has to be on board. Do they understand? And then, as a team, we can move forward and figure out what we need to work on. But if we don't even know where we're going, it doesn't really matter. And then synergy. So these last two pieces are kind of as you've been doing this work for a while, but this is where you get to growth into freedom. You can take off, do your own thing, whatever it is you want to do. In synergy, we're just tweaking stuff usually. So all of this stuff is working really well together, mastery, niche, leverage, and team. And we're just making tweaks where we need to. And then the results is where we can make a decision on what we want to do. So as a business coach, obviously these are all the things that I like to work with people on. I do what I call a free business strategy session. So if you're ever interested in that, I love to just sit down with you, look at your business, talk about all the things, and see if I can help. And if I can't, I'll let you know. But if I can, then I'll show you that, and we'll talk about how that might work. And I have everything from groups to one-to-one coaching, and then just doing talks at companies on different things like sales strategies and stuff like that. So that's pretty much the 6 steps, Jim.
Awesome, Kim. I have a couple of questions. So let's first start with share with our community one of your greatest success stories that you are most proud of implementing the ActionCoach plan.
I would say it's a client that I've been working with now for a while, and we've just had a lot of problems getting her profit margin up and getting cash flow positive. She has a pretty high labor rate that we have to pay because it's pretty technical work that people do. So it's just been really challenging. So we've put a ton of processes in place, a ton of team development in place. She's been really working on kind of her money mindset, which plays all into that as well. And this year we're heading into our slow season, but she has more cash than she's ever had. And for me, that's because that stress is off. She's like, I can pay all my bills and payroll, and she's paying herself. She also rewarded herself with her dream was always to buy a Jeep, and she finally bought her own Jeep. And so, yeah, so it's just that kind of stuff. That's
awesome.
Yeah.
Excellent. So mastery, niche, leverage, team, synergy, and results. You've been in this or working with startups now for many years. Using, and I'm giving away my boomer generation, using the 80-20 rule, Kim, what would you say the 20% of your most successful customers have, why do that 20%, if you subscribe to that, why are they able to, what separates them from the 80% in terms of maybe the mastery, niche, leverage, team survey results, if you were to guess?
I don't even know if it's one of those things. I think it's doing all the things that we decide are important, when I'm working with them as a partnership. The people that succeed are the ones that they do. I mean, it's kind of that first slide. They take full ownership of their business and they're like, I'm going to make this work. And they don't blame it on everybody else. They don't look for excuses on why it's not working. So I would say 20% is a mindset thing more than anything. It's like, I got to learn and I got to grow as a human in order for my business to grow. So I'm going to work on myself as much as I'm going to work on the business.
Right. And to be all in, as you say,
yep.
Just no matter what, and embrace the people and circumstances that the company attracts as a learning experience.
Right. Absolutely.
One of the things that, and it's funny you mentioned Brian Tracy, one of my earlier professional lives, I had a chance to meet him and work with a company that was under his tutelage, so to speak. And I'm not sure if it was he, but one of the greatest questions that I think I ever heard when it comes to time management is, and came from Brian Tracy, I think, and that is, what is the best use of my time right now? Right now. And I think this kind of goes to those, the important, unimportant, etc. But to be in the zone. So talk to us a little bit more about staying in the zone. And I couldn't quite catch if to do that which is not urgent but important, what percentage of the time do you ideally will your startup spend in the zone?
20% would be ideal.
So there's that 80-20 rule once again.
Right, exactly. Doing that 20% is really important because, and I think for me, what I've learned from my business, it's kind of Monday is my setup for the week. Like, these are all the things that are happening this week. What are the key things that I need to do to get ready? And those, these aren't client meetings, because client meetings for me are my 80% demand, right? Like, I have those coaching sessions. But the 20% of my business is, how do I grow it? So what are the other things that I'm doing? So if I can take some time Monday morning to look at the week, to see all the things I have on my plate, and then to block out time to do the different pieces I need to do to help in that 20%, that helps a lot. So.
Awesome. All right, last question I have, and I hope you've not been asked this before, but since you're dealing with so many startups and you've been doing this for a few years, if you could wave your magic wand and give one mandate that all your startup customers had to follow, if there's one thing that you would recommend that they do that would happen in this hypothetical, what would it be, with all the years of expertise and experiences, good and bad, that you've had with customers? What would be that one thing?
That is a good question. I would say be willing to look at yourself and look at the places that you need to grow to become a better human, a better leader, a better business professional.
More about a spiritual, a holistic approach.
Yeah. Because I know for me, and then also watching my clients, that we can work on business strategies all day long. but we're the ones that actually hold our businesses back because of what we have: fear, resistance, or mindset issues, or whatever it is, or communication problems. And if we're not willing to really, kind of peel back the onion and start to unearth that stuff and work on it, and know that I don't have to know everything, I don't have to be perfect at everything, I just have to do my best and keep learning and growing and be humble and vulnerable and all that stuff. Those are the things that really I see really shift a business. So yeah.
Awesome. Wonderful. Kim, for our community who just can't wait for the summit on October 12th, the shameless promotion, how can they reach you if they want to reach you before they meet you on October 12th?
Probably the easiest way is just give me a phone call or a text. My number is 720-323-4955. And yeah, we can schedule a time to sit down and chat and just see if it might be a good fit to go forward and have a talk or not. But yeah.
Awesome. Awesome. Kim, thank you very, very much. Thank you for your time. Thanks for sharing some very meaningful, measurable, and actionable items, working with a professional like yourself to help startups and companies 3 years and up looking to take to the next level. So thank you very much, Kim.
Thank you, Jim. It was fun.